Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. If you have a gardening question you'd like our host Fred Howard to answer, send him an email. The email address is fred@planttalkradio.com. Now for today's question.
I've got a gooseberry plant that blooms in March instead of like May. And I end up losing. I don't get no berries because I can't catch it right to stop the frost from getting to them. But I don't get no berries off of it.
Well, now that...
Is there some way I can prune it later in the year to make it bloom later?
I have never grown gooseberry, so I can go only on other people's experience, and I have only a little of that. One of the things you're getting into may be a cultivar or variety that just simply does flower early. That's most unfortunate because you can't change it. The other thing...
I've got it right up against the house. I'm thinking maybe it's getting too much warm from the house, and that's why it's blooming earlier.
Is it on the east side?
Yes.
Okay. That's probably one of the things, by all means. Now, do you have one plant or more?
Just one.
Okay.
And it grows great. It does not get little tiny flowers on it, but it's way too early.
Yep.
Then the frost kills it off.
Well,
kills the blooms off.
Yeah, try to shelter it. I'd be inclined to leave it alone if it's growing quite nicely, as you say. I would put 3 or 4 stakes in the ground out. Easily. If the plant is 2 foot in diameter, I'd make a 4x4 little area. You could use any kind of fencing, chicken wire, etc., to build up, to support on the stakes the fence, and then put loose leaves into that container that you have made and insulate it from the heat until such time that it does start to grow, period. Then I would release the fencing. I would pull the leaves out, or at least mostly out. Then I would close the fence again and put not plastic, but something of either an old bed sheet or fabric of that nature so that air can move. You don't sweat the plant, so to speak, and see if you can't moderate the temperatures and cause that plant to bloom later. Now, what I don't know about gooseberries is whether they bloom on new stems or old stems. That I just flat... They
bloom on new stems.
Okay, then...
Like a grape does.
That being the case, you can go into it as it starts to grow. Let it grow.
I always prune in the fall right before winter hits.
Okay.
And I put straw around it. So I'm thinking maybe instead of pruning in the fall, maybe go and prune in the spring.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was going to suggest, because that is a management technique that may work in your case. Being east, being probably an early bloomer in the first place, it's going to be a little difficult. But I think if you would wait until it has grown, 6 or 8 inches or more, and getting into what would be 2 or 3 weeks prior to normal blooming time, go ahead and cut it. Then you'll get new growth that hopefully will carry more flower buds, and you can live with the plant after it's been pruned, and hopefully you will get fruit set this time.
Yeah. I didn't know if it would rebloom after I'd already pruned it that early or that late in the season or not.
Well, and I don't know either. As I say, I've never grown gooseberries, Charles.
Hey, I don't get fruit now. So what's one more year? So.
Yeah. Well, that's a fine attitude. And for gardeners, it's almost a mandate that you think that way sometimes. There's always another year. And my favorite story about that kind of thing is, I was talking I was a kid at the time, so to speak. I was talking to a gentleman much older than I right now, and I asked them when, as avid gardeners, 30 years and 35, and one was 42 years in the same garden. I said, when did you finally get the soil the way you wanted? One guy looked at me and said, maybe next year. Yeah. So that's just the fate of a gardener.
Hey, thanks again for listening to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our other podcasts as well, the Plant of the Week podcast and the Plant Talk Radio podcast, all on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to sponsor a daily podcast, contact us at fred@planttalkradio.com. To find out more about Fred Hauer and Plant Talk Radio, visit our website, planttalkradio.com.
Circle270media.com